Welcome back to our 2025 Global Summit Spark Your Magic. Unfortunately, Abs Saloom can't be with us today. I say unfortunately, he's actually enjoying his vacation on a beach in Spain. So I'm sure he's having a wonderful time relaxing and recharging. That being said, he has provided us with a detailed talk and presentation that we're going to be sharing with you today in just a moment's time. But even though Abs isn't here, let's give him some energy. Let's put comments and questions into the comments box so Abs can get back to them later, and I'll feed them here into this space to bring a bit more energy to this session. So Abs is an EMCC accredited senior practitioner. He has just certified with Coaching Minds about 2 months ago and moved into senior practitioner level 7 with the EMCC. He is a fantastic guy. I'm sure you're going to feel his energy in just a moment. But before I share his talk with you, we've had such an amazing day one and half of day two already. We've had Vijaya share her embrace model, which was really fantastic model we can use to start to embrace our voice. We had Sharon yesterday talk to us and spread awareness on menopause and neurodiversity. We then finished the day with Ed Stanley, who talked to us about moving from inner critic to inner coach and helping maintain that balance between the two. And then this morning, we had the wonderful Leila Najuko, who was talking to us about communicating with clarity and the importance of communication in everything that we do. So from these wonderful sessions, I would just love to know what has been your key takeaway from our global summit so far. What has really sparked a little bit of magic in you? What's stuck in your mind from the four wonderful talks we've had already? And then after we have this little bit of discussion, I'm going to go straight into sharing Ab's talk with you. So I can see lots of people tuning in a little bit late. It's great to see you here. Welcome. So Abs cannot be with us today. He's currently on his annual leave. He's chilling in a beach in Spain. So he's having a great time, but we do have his presentation for you. He sent it across early. So he's going to be tuned in and he's going to be sharing that with us. Okay. Do let me know your comments. I'm going to introduce Abs. I'm going to Abs come to this stage with his video, and we will be learning about how to navigate our emotional landscape.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this powerful session on navigating your emotional landscape in coaching. I'm Abs. I'm a qualified and certified life and professional coach. I'm also an EMCC EIA accredited senior practitioner with the European Mentoring Coaching Council. And I'm proud to share this session with you today, where we're going to delve deeper into emotions and look at it from a coaching lens, a very powerful area to explore within our coaching space as well. I want to say a massive thank you to the Coaching Minds community and academy for giving me this opportunity today to be part of this 2025 Global Summit, where it's all about sparking your magic. Brilliant. So let's delve deep into this subject area. So, why this particular topic today? This is an area that really resonates for me, and it's something I do a lot of work with when I work with clients as well. And what I mean when I say emotional landscape is it's the world of feelings. It's those moods, those energies, those attitudes, those mindsets, um, those behavioral shifts, our way of thinking, our way of acting, our way of behaving. So many factors come into play here when we think of emotional landscapes. And we can look at it from us as coaches, but we can also look at it from the work we do with our clients as well. So let's remember, emotions are not obstacles, they are messengers. And we learn to listen to them deeply. And in coaching, it's not necessarily about hearing, it's more about truly listening to what's really happening for the client in that moment and what's really at play and showing up for that individual. in relation to their life or work or any other area they are particularly wanted to focus on with you within that session and that space you are providing them as well. And emotions really leads to that deep transformational work for you as coaches, but also helps the client really come to those breakthroughs and those key light bulb moments, those golden nuggets, and they can start to understand how they can move forward in relation to what's showing up for them in that moment. So let's begin by unpacking the science behind emotions. And briefly, emotions originate in the limbic system, specifically the amygdala, so which processes the stimuli and generates emotional responses. However, the prefrontal cortex helps us regulate and make decisions. This is where a lot of our kind of thinking comes from and our decision making in this area of our brain as well. So there are primary emotions at play. Some examples could be sadness, fear, joy, and there's those secondary emotions. And these secondary emotions are more of those underlining and those layered emotions, often influenced by thoughts and judgments and how we process those in relation to how someone's made us feel or how we've acted in that moment in relation to what we've heard or seen or experienced as well. Now, with clients and often as coaches, this is an area where coaches really struggle with, especially coaches that are starting off, newly qualified coaches or aspiring coaches, and that's okay. But it's a very powerful area to really pay attention to as practitioners as well. And we don't want to bypass those emotions in our work. It's not about when emotions show up, it's not getting the client to stop feeling what they need to feel or hide behind the shadow of those particular feelings that are showing up. No, it's the complete opposite. We want to understand what the client is feeling, but we also want to understand the impact it's having on them and the impact it may be having on others, and obviously the impact it's having on the bigger picture in relation to life, work, etc. And it's really helping the client identify what emotions are showing up and what's at play in that situation, in that moment, in that scenario, in that relationship, in that conversation. We could be looking at various contexts here. Now, there's tools you can use in your practice as coaches to help clients navigate this aspect of their life. And one tool I use from my experience and other coaches use as well is known as the feelings wheel. So this is a powerful tool we use in coaching to help clients navigate those emotions. So when we're using this particular exercise or tool, it's really getting the client just to kind of be in the moment, get them to take deep breaths, get them to ground themselves, get them to be truly present. So you can ask the client to exhale through their mouth and inhale through their nose, or vice versa. Inhale through your mouth, exhale through your nose. However you want to do it with your client, it's absolutely fine. You can ask your clients to close their eyes. You can really ask them just to kind of free their mind and really focus on what's showing up for them right now. And you really need them here to tune in to really identifying what they are feeling rather than what they are thinking. So this is the emphasis here is on the feeling and not on the thinking. So we're not really facilitating their thinking at this stage. We're helping come to terms with what they are feeling. And that's really important when they're doing this particular exercise and getting them to kind of come to terms with that. And it will help us do that deeper exploration. Now, questions you can ask the client at this phase of the exercise is, what are you experiencing most often right now in relation to this particular situation, scenario, relationship, conversation you may be having, or fear of a certain area of life, etc. And that will help the client really understand, okay, this is what I feel I'm experiencing in this moment. So give them a moment. Remember to hold the space here with your client. What messages might this emotion be trying to convey? So what messages do they feel these emotions are telling the client? Opportunity for you here to do some visual work with the client and maybe help them identify those emotions with a metaphor. An example could be here, a client could be feeling anxious because something really big or serious has happened in life, and that anxiety is leading to a bit of frustration. And when you get them to really understand what does that anxiety and frustration feel like for them, what do they see when they feel this feeling of anxiety, this feeling of frustration? What do they see? What do they hear? If you could visually picture it, what does it look like? And an example could be a client might say, in the moment where I feel anxious and frustrated, to me it feels like it's a volcano about to erupt, and I feel in that moment I'm about to lose control. Major, and always acknowledge what the client shares with you, thank the client for sharing, and help them understand that it's okay and that they're doing a great job by just naming those emotions and being able to kind of visualize what it feels for them. And here is an opportunity for you to really delve deeper and understand when you visualize this volcano about to erupt, what other things do you see, or what comes up for you in that moment, or what shows up? And an opportunity for you, a client might say, when the volcano is about to erupt, I see different colors, and the colors I see in those moments are red, black, brown, and again, that's great because the client's showing great sense of self-awareness at this stage, to be able to identify this volcano and it's about to erupt, but also to identify that there's colors at play as well, and those colors could link to other emotions being triggered on how they're feeling. And it's really asking the client, so when you see red, what does that represent for you? And the client might say something, when I see red, the red for me is me feeling angry in that moment. They could say the brown is me feeling frustrated, which is on the back of that anxiety. And me seeing black is me feeling like I'm about to lose control, or I have no control in that moment, when the volcano is about to erupt. So this is all about kind of getting the client to take that first step and really understand the awareness of what's really happening for them and how those emotions are at play and the impact it can potentially have on them. There's other metaphors you can use. You can use the bridge that's about to lose its foundational structure. You can use the burning building metaphor. You can use the letting go, the balloon letting go metaphor. So there's and you can create your own metaphors here. Sometimes getting clients to visualize those emotions and what it means to them, or getting them to, and there's different ways you can do it. You can get them to write it down, you can get them to draw it, or you can get them just to tell you. Again, remember, it's their space, so let them be present in the moment. And it's less about doing and more about being for you as a coach, and for you to really truly listen to the client and give them your full focus to really understand what's showing up for that individual in those moments as well. If we look at emotional awareness, and if we look at it from a coaching perspective here, as coaches, we often focus on our clients, and from experience and when observing others, we try to bypass our own emotions, because we don't want our own emotions to show up, because we want to give our client our full 100%. And that's absolutely fine and that's understandable. But for coaches, it's important for us to also navigate our own emotional landscape. And it's also okay for us to manage that area of our profession, because it's so important for us as whether we're newly accredited, aspiring to be qualified or accredited, or seasoned professionals. It's important for us to do work around emotions, also on ourselves as well. This is a perfect opportunity where we can really utilize that supervision space as coaches as well. But coaching, if you think of it, it's like a co-regulation. It's the emotional tone we bring into that space for our clients to kind of soothe or stir what's really happening, and to help the client, really to guide the client in a way to really help them come to those realizations, to allow them to move forward. And it's baby steps. And the focus here is about just taking that first small step in relation to really what's going on, because it's this deep work we do with the client as well. Sometimes mirroring and holding the mirror up to the client and really getting them to understand those unspoken emotional energies that show up. For example, if you're anxious as a coach, your client will feel it. So you coming to the session as a coach, you need to be fully present. You need to be fully grounded, and need to be able to be fully whole for that client as well. And there's ways we can allow ourselves to prep as coaches, and it's really how do we prep before we have a session for a client? What do we do as coaches? Do we get rid of all of the small distractions? Do we switch our phones off? Do we turn all our notifications off? Do we put everything on do not disturb? Do we lock our phone away in a drawer to avoid any distractions or disturbance? How do we kind of minimize that mind chatter in our mind as well? What do we do? So there's different ways and different approaches we can take to fully ground ourselves. For example, before I have a session with a client, I'll take time to do a 15-minute meditation to allow me really just to switch off on everything that's happened so far, and really for me to be fully present, to clear my mind completely and go into the session fully focusing on the client and only on the client, because that is my job as that individual's coach in that moment as well, for that next hour and a half. So in regards to other tools you can use, there's a emotional check-in protocol tool you can use. So this is before the session as coaches, and it's really asking yourself as a coach before I come into a session, what am I feeling right now? It's really thinking about how are you feeling before you step into that coaching session with your client. What do I need to do to be fully present? Really helping yourself to really go back and reflect, and it's you thinking about those minimizing those distractions that may potentially get in the way of the work you're going to do with the client as well. And what do I want to let go of? If you're going into a session and you're holding on to something that might negatively impact you being fully present, then you really need to step back and reflect and let go of whatever you're holding onto, to be able to do that empowering and transformational work with your client in that moment. There's another exercise called the guided journal. And again, it's here, and how you do the exercise is this: you can ask your client to take a moment where you get them to close their eyes. You get them to place their hand on their heart in that moment. And you can do it as a coach, or you can get the client to do it when you're doing it with the client themselves, and asking them, what am I feeling in this moment, when they're really closing their eyes, and really getting them to kind of connect with themselves here as a whole, because we're about to do some deep exploration work as well. And then ask the client, let it arise, be open, be authentic, be honest and raw with what you are feeling in this moment. No judgment. This is a space free of judgment. This is a space free of bias. So tell me truly, what are you feeling? And then gently ask the client, in that moment, what might this feeling be pointing to? Again, to really understand where it's leading them in that moment. So again, really powerful work you can do as coaches here. Some reflective questions you can use here is what part of your client's story activated something in you? So when they did that in the moment, what part of their story helped activate something within you as a coach to be able to say, wow, you know, this is a perfect opportunity for me to really be with the client in this moment and really help them understand what's happening for them and what's showing up, and how we can start to think about the steps we need to take to move forward in relation to the goal that we're working towards, the challenge they want to overcome, those obstacles they want to avoid, etc. And also, it's how do you hold space without observing the weight? So again, how do you hold space for your client? How do you do it in your practice? And it's asking yourself, what things do I do to ensure that I'm really truly holding that space? And things like making sure we're not interrupting, allowing the client to share what they need to share in that moment, giving them space, giving them time to process what's going on, giving them time to really share what they want to share, and giving them time to really think about what they want to say and how they want to get across that message to you, or how they want to portray or tell you that particular story in that moment as well, as the client as well. Then we can look at emotional intelligence in relation to this topic of navigating your emotional landscape. And again, and as Daniel Goleman's work is ideal here, you've got his 5 components of emotional intelligence, which are really powerful, and it's really helping the client to really understand how each of these components are showing up for the client in that moment as well. So one of the components are self-awareness. So it's getting clients to really recognize their own emotions. What are you feeling in this moment? How are you feeling right now in relation to what you've just shared with me? Again, it's really understanding what the client is feeling, and it's so important as a coach to really understand what the client is feeling. Self-regulation, managing those disruptive feelings. Now, these could be feelings that might be heightened emotions that might be triggering those heightened emotions, such as anger, such as anxiety, such as fear, such as being wary, feeling, uncertain, despondent. Just giving you some examples here. There's so many emotions that can come at play. Motivation, the 3rd component of Daniel Goleman's 5 components, and really using emotions to drive purposeful actions. Are the emotions that are showing up for you right now, are they aligning with your goals, with your values, with your beliefs? Really understanding, because if they are, great. And it's how the client can start to bring in strengths to help them really navigate that particular situation, scenario, or experience as well. Empathy, the 4th component, and this is really feeling into others' emotions. How are other people's emotions impacting your client? How is it impacting their mindset, their behaviors, their attitudes, their way of thinking, and other aspects that may be potentially causing barriers or obstacles, because they're taking others' emotions on top of their own emotions as well, and it's weighing a lot on the client, and it's about us kind of helping release some of that weight to get the client to feel a bit more freer in that moment as well, a bit free in that moment. Social skills, so navigating those emotional dynamics in relationships. How are relationships in their lives impacting the way the client is feeling, the way the client is behaving, the way the client is acting? How is it impacting mindset? How is it impacting the way of working, the way of being as well? So really doing that exploration of those social skills. And when you're triggered or unsettled, emotional intelligence helps you respond and not react. Remember, emotions are there because they're part of us as human beings. They're not there for us to shove them to one corner. They're not there for us to hide them behind a shadow. They're not there for us to overshadow those emotions. We really need to accept, acknowledge, and really understand what we're truly feeling as coaches and help the client really in that moment. If you're doing work with clients, really understand what we're truly feeling as well, what they are truly feeling in those moments. And then you can do some emotional triggers mapping here with the client. So it's known as the emotional triggers map here, where you get the client, whether you're doing it face to face or whether you're doing it in a remote setting, get the client to draw a circle on an A4 sheet of paper. Take their time, there's no rush here, and get them to write one recent emotional trigger around it with that, and get them to identify a physical sensation, a thought, and a behavioral response in relation to that potential trigger. So really to help us understand what physical response is that trigger causing the client as well, what sensation, what thoughts, what feelings as well. And this gives us a map of the client's emotional reaction in relation to that trigger. For example, when someone's feeling angry, they may be tempted to, slam the door, smack their desk with their hand, kick the wall. I'm just giving you some examples here. When someone's feeling anxious, they could hunch forward with their shoulders. They could be a bit more closed off. They could start to bite their nails or start to fidget, play with their pen lid in that moment. And there's a shift in energy here, and it's really paying attention to those energy shifts in those moments as coaches. It's really understanding, as a coach, understanding what do you do when a client triggers you in those moments as well, because sometimes clients may share things with us that may trigger us. So what do you do as a coach when a client triggers you? How do you react? And it'll be good to kind of hear your thoughts and reflections and how you handle those moments as coaches. How do you regulate yourself in real time? What things do you do to allow you to regulate your own emotions, your mental capacity in those moments as well? So really powerful, reflective questions there for you to think about as coaches as well. When we kind of go back to the emotions piece, and when we go back to the navigating that landscape from a client's perspective, it's really getting the client here to express those deep emotions. And an example of a deep emotion could be grief, could be shame, could be anger, and seeing how often they lean into those emotions in those moments as well. Does the client rush to reframe, or do they feel they need to rescue themselves in those moments? So really get them to think at it from two perspectives. How can you reframe your way of thinking in that moment and your actions? Or if you're kind of delving deep into the moment and without thinking, and you're just reacting based on the emotion itself, are you going into that rescue mode to kind of protect yourself? But that could also be having a negative impact on the client as well. So it's really observing without judgment here if you're doing this deep work with the client. And it's really naming the feeling, getting the client to name that feeling. And it's important for clients to be able to name what's showing up for them. Get them to identify the need in relation to that feeling or that emotion showing up for them, and get them to make a request, a personal request, on what they feel they need to do when that emotion shows up, or how they need to act, behave in those moments. Another powerful technique here is the RAIN technique. So RAIN is an acronym, and so R stands for recognize. So here you're getting a client to really recognize what is happening in relation to that situation, scenario, experience, moment. A is all about allowing the client to experience, to be there, get them to visualize themselves in that moment, to really understand what's impacting them and what's potentially impacting others as well. I is investigate, so get them to really analyze, investigate, and really identify what is really showing up, and with interest as well. Why is this showing up for you? What is it doing for you? How is it serving you in this moment as well? And then N is for nurture. Get the client to really nurture that emotion, that feeling, with compassion as well. So important. So an example here might be a client says, I feel like a failure. So if you're using the RAIN technique with your client in this moment, it's getting the client to really understand what do you say, and then allowing that space for them to pause and get them to think through each of those steps. So the recognize, the allow, the investigate, and the nurture. Take your time to process. So some powerful coaching questions here for you to use with clients is, what does this emotion need from you right now? If this emotion could speak, what would it say? So again, really getting client to visualize, what that emotion is saying to them, how it's talking to that individual as well. And what are you learning about yourself through this emotion? Because clients will learn so much about themselves through emotions they feel, and how they act in relation to mindset, attitude, behavioral shifts, etc. If we look at another area in relation to navigating emotional landscape, is emotional mastery and integration. So emotional mastery is not control, it's relationship. It's that partnership you have with your client. And that's really important. It's knowing your emotional terrain as a coach, but also understanding the client's emotional terrain as well. So nothing comes up in the session that may be a surprise to you, that may be of shock to you, or that might kind of, set you back, or set the relationship back, or impact that trust or rapport you've worked so hard to build with your client through those sessions, and that consistent experience they are having with you through that those transformational conversations leading to those breakthroughs as well. So you can support clients here in developing their emotional resilience, and it's really through naming and normalizing and nurturing in those moments. So naming, normalizing, and nurturing those feelings, those emotions, those triggers that are really showing up for the client as well. And there's different ways you can use this emotional resilience exercise with your clients. You can design it as a template, so you can invite a client to create a simple plan, and give them some guidance on how you want this plan to look like, and what you want the client, again, guiding the client and how you want them to utilize this plan, because you will give them the structure of that particular framework, and you'll start off with, my current emotional pattern is, so really understanding what is their emotional pattern right now in what's going on for that individual. When I feel X emotion, I will Y, etc. And my anchor practice is X. So again, and this could be breathing, journaling, movement, grounding, meditation, etc. So those simple steps. So what my current emotional pattern is, get the client to write that down on a piece of paper and identify that emotional pattern. When I feel that X pattern, I will identify what the Y is in that moment. And my anchor practice is identifying that X, and that could be the breathing, the journaling, the movement, the grounding, whatever the client feels they need to do to help them to start to navigate and develop that emotional resilience in relation to what's really showing up for them in that moment as well. Questions here you could use as coaches, or you could ask your clients is, what emotional habits are serving you? Again, really understanding how those emotional habits are serving your clients. What is it doing for them as well? What emotional patterns are asking to be repatterned as well? Really understanding how they want to reframe or kind of restructure those patterns to help them to move forward, because they may be feeling a certain emotion that's triggering them, but if there is a way they can reframe that particular emotion or how they're feeling to help maybe feel less like that or feel more of that particular emotion, because it could be a positive emotion, then they can start to identify, okay, these are the things I can do in life that's really helping me feel joyful, feel happy, feel fulfilled, you know, those positive emotions. But there's things in life that are really making me feel a bit depressed, that's having an impact on me, and I'm feeling anxious in moments. So it's really helping clients to really come to that realization through this emotional resilience development as well. Before we kind of wrap up, it's just thinking about some reflections here. So it's going back to that piece where I said, I want you to focus on less of the doing and more of the being as coaches. So really kind of understanding who you are as a coach before you really start to do this work with your clients. And as coaches, it's really practicing these tools on yourself. There's another powerful tool as well known as the emotions palette as well. And these are decks of cards which have emotions identified on each card. And it's an opportunity for you to pick a card that, an emotion that might come up for you in that moment, and really truly having it in front of you and really understanding, okay, how am I feeling right now as a coach? What impact is this emotion having on my life and potentially the work I'm going to do with my clients? And it's allowing you to really visualize that emotion. You're naming it by it being present on the actual card, but also allowing you to start to think about, okay, how can I start to navigate this particular emotion? What triggers are at play in relation to this particular feeling? And how can I start to move forward as well before I start to do emotional work with my client as well? And it's a perfect space for you as coaches to help navigate emotional landscape is for you to really invest in coach supervision. I have a brilliant supervisor, Sam. She's an ASIA accredited coach supervisor with the European Mentoring Coaching Council. I see her bi-monthly, but the work we do together in our sessions isn't just about me as a coach. It's about me as a whole human. We look at everything in relation, not just to my coaching work, but to other aspects of my life that might impact me and impact my work as a coach as well. And those sessions are so powerful because it gives us an opportunity as coaches to come to a space where we can share what we need to share, really talk to someone who's able to truly listen and understand what's happening for us, what's showing up for us in those moments as well. It's so powerful. So I would encourage you, if you don't interact or don't have consistent supervision, it's really important to start to think about how you can get supervision. And feel free to reach out to me, and I can provide you some guidance on where you need to go and how you can kind of find the right supervisor, because it does take some time for you to make sure you find the right person for you to be able to gel with that individual as well. So just as we close and wrap up, I really want you to think about the deep work you're going to do with your clients again, and the journey you're going to go on with those clients through this emotional work you're going to do with them, and helping them navigate that emotional landscape again, and really understanding how we can utilize these tools. And just to recap on some of the tools we explored today, you have the feelings wheel, you have the emotional check-in protocol, emotional triggers map, the RAIN technique, and you have the resilience plan template. And then there's another tool where it provides you with 20 powerful emotional coaching questions as well. Feel free to reach out, and I can share these resources with you all as well. But coaching is emotional work, and emotion is at the heart of us being powerful, empowering, transformational, effective coaches. Without that emotions piece, without that emotions work we do as coaches, we can't really call ourselves effective practitioners or coaches in the space. And that's how powerful emotions are in the work we do as coaches. And again, it's that emotional intelligence piece. It's really there to help us. It provides us with that ground for us to walk on. Think of it as the compass leading us to where we need to go in life, or how we need to act, or how we need to behave, or how we need to think, or how we need to process certain thoughts or feelings, etc. And again, and you're going on different journeys. You're going on a self-awareness journey. You're going on a journey of grace. You're going on a journey of curiosity, a journey of courage, journey of openness, authenticity, honesty, and there's different journeys that kind of tie into that emotional intelligence piece as well, and it all ties into that emotional landscaping for us as coaches, but the work we do with our clients as well. So really, I want you to really go away and really think about, how can I start to support my clients around navigating their emotional landscapes? And when I have a client, or when I have a session coming up in their future, and a client brings something to a session where it's going to involve emotional work, it's an opportunity for you to really try some of these practices and techniques we explored together today, and utilize them in your practice as coaches. And then an opportunity for you to step away and reflect, how did it feel me doing some of these work, or taking some of these approaches with my client? You know, what showed up for me in those moments when I was utilizing these tools? Opportunity for you to gain feedback from the client as well. You know, how did you feel today when we explored your emotions in a bit more detail, and we were able to delve deeper? You know, what other emotions were showing up for you? You know, how did you feel? How challenged did you feel I was as your coach in relation to what you shared with me today around those emotions, or how you're feeling? You know, and just asking those questions and really giving your clients an opportunity to provide you with that feedback is really, really powerful as well. But opportunity for you, before you use a tool on a client, I would recommend doing it on yourself first, just to see how you feel and how it lands with you. Or you could do it with a peer as well. Great opportunity. And then you can start to put it into play with your clients. And remember, when using the tool, make sure it's right for the client. Don't just use a tool for the sake of using the tool. It needs to benefit the client, to allow you to do the work you need to do with that individual to help them navigate that emotional landscape. It's always important to ask for permission when using tools. to make sure we're in line with our ethical practices, and we're covering those ethical considerations as well as qualified, certified, and accredited professionals in our respective field as coaches around the work we do as well. Amazing. I want to thank you all for showing up and for taking time to listen to my session today. There will be a lot of resources and content I share in relation to what I covered in the session today. Please connect with me if you haven't connected with me via LinkedIn already. And if you have any questions on emotional landscaping, please do reach out, and it'll be a great opportunity for us to connect and explore this in more detail as well. I want to thank you all for your presence, your curiosity, and your engagement in listening to my session today. And hopefully we can connect soon. And thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Abs for that wonderful session, for sending us in advance to allow us to stream this with everybody today. For those of you tuned in, I can see we've got lots of people here. Abs is currently on annual leave. He's chilling on a beach in Spain and enjoying his life right now, but he was really keen and really ambitious to send this to us and to be here with us today. So thank you, Abs, for sending that video. Lots of great stuff in there, lots of different tools that we can take away and use to help us understand that emotional landscape and checking with our own emotions and also the emotions with our clients. So I'm going to bring in some more comments here. So Cindy saying, well done, Abs, lots of valuable insights and tools. There was a lot in there for a 45-minute video. There were so many tools that we can take away as coaches, which are really fantastic. And Jane is saying, wow, this was amazing. Thank you for the love for Abs. I'm sure he's going to appreciate it when he watches the replay. And if you do have any questions, please do drop them in the comments box on LinkedIn or on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching this, and I'm sure Abs will get back to you when he is back. And Fiona's saying, inspiring as always, Abs, thank you for the insights. Thank you for the comment, Fiona. I'm sure Abs will appreciate that. It was a really, really wonderful and deep session. So I want to thank you, everybody who's also tuned into this, who's been here listening to Abs and supporting him in the comments box. It's really wonderful to see. Thank each and every one of you and everybody who's watching it on the replay. It's been a fantastic summit so far. We've had 5 sessions to date. We had 3 yesterday, 2 today. We've just had Abs, which was absolutely wonderful. Next up, it's going to be myself. So I'm going to be stepping forward and talking about coachology and how you can learn the magic of coaching. So I'm going to be bringing in a little bit of blend of what coaching is, what coaching is not. I'm going to be tackling some of the misconceptions of coaching or about coaching, and I'm also going to be introducing you to some tools that you can take away if you're new into the coaching practice, or how you can start to build upon them if you are a seasoned professional already in our industry. So I look forward to seeing you in about an hour's time. Again, a huge thank you to Abs. Wonderful video, wonderful session. Thank you so much, and a huge thank you to everybody who's tuning in and engaging with us at our summit. I'll see you all and speak to you all very, very soon. Thank you.